kick off the cobwebs?
All right, we are live.
All right, here we go. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn 3 is the magic number.
And in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I am one of your hosts, Scott Jones, with my two friends again, Paul Packler and Corey Pepper. How are you guys?
Oh my gosh,
great.
who
I
is
can't
this
believe-
person?
I don't know. The show's been
been a while.
hijacked.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Well, I think your announcement last week, kind of shows you where my life has been a little bit.
I'll leave it to you, Corey. Go ahead.
I stopped myself. One of the rare times in my life I used my editing device and decided silence was the best choice.
Oh, please don't.
Okay, in that case, Scott, now that you've opened up this Pandora's box,
Oh,
let's talk about the fact that you weren't here last week when Paul and I had to record this show not once on a dreadful episode, but twice. I kept my notes. I didn't set them on fire like I usually do. Like the show is on the gates of hell, and I have to get rid of the ashes of hell after each podcast that we do. But I kept last week's, thank God, or else I would have had to watch the show another time. So Paul and I had just another lovely two-man conversation. It was lovely. It was intellectual. It was funny. It was witty. It was charming. Everything that it's not when you're around.
Of course. My goal is to bring this show down to a base level.
Nothing that Gary David Goldberg hasn't already done.
Right. I figure, mass appeal, guys. If this is where our country's at, we got to go low denominator to get the viewers. Okay.
Well, funny you should say that.
We go even lower
because in this episode, I think we go about as low as we can go here with.
I'm feeling a little under the weather. This was actually like the perfect episode for me to watch because I had nothing to worry about. Didn't have to follow anything. There was no conflict, no resolution. Kind of suited me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. While you guys were going back and forth, I thought of what my response to your announcement of having a baby is.
Yes.
There is an apocryphal tale of one Groucho Marx who, in an episode of You Bet Your Life, talks to this housewife and who says that she has 13 kids.
And what was Groucho's response?
He says, 13 kids? Why do you have 13 kids? And she goes, well, Groucho, I love my husband. And he says, honey, I love my cigar, but I take it out of my mouth every once in a while. Now, that probably didn't happen on TV in the 50s.
No, but that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. But guys, I this is my first episode with our final season. How are we feeling?
Yes, right. Hold on. We have to have a moment, Paul.
Oh, there's another moment.
Yeah, we have a moment here. Paul, I'm very sad. This is our final third episode of the season.
It's our final third episode. It's our final time Scott's going to be on the show.
If I was a betting man.
Well, let's try to get this knocked out by the summer. So come August, I can be here for the final episode.
Yeah. Funny you should say. Did you say knocked up by the summer?
That could happen again too. I don't know.
So this is season 7, episode 3, entitled simply "Truckers."
Lazy fucking title for this episode. Jesus Christ!
And we start. I don't know, Scott, if you've been following the show for the last 120 episodes, but we start with a bizarre cold open. We've had one maybe 3 times. Certainly you could count them on one hand. But I'm wondering, Paul, did you look up when this episode aired? If it's the 3rd episode of the season, it has to be in October, but it sort of felt as though it aired the Sunday after Election Day.
Yes, I was wondering that too.
November 13th, 1988.
Is when it aired?
Yeah.
Wow.
So indeed, they got a late start this season due to either a writer's strike or whatever. And this was indeed a tacked-on cold open that was written between Tuesday and Friday when they taped, probably.
Yeah. And I kind of was happy to see this. It kind of felt, we're kind of getting back to the root of what this show was supposed to be about with the politics involved. And it was kind of nice to see commentary on that.
Yeah, it was. And then the next 21 minutes happened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Then it was shit. But yeah, the opening scene is all about Bush getting elected and how bad Dukakis performed and everything. Yeah, and of course they're all scared Alex is going to gloat.
My favorite part is there's a line that Steven makes where he says, "Next time, I'm voting for the front runner no matter what his politics." And so I was like, that's interesting. So
that means that Dukakis was the front runner in this race?
No, that I think he meant in the primary, right?
Oh, in the primary. Okay.
So I looked up who was the other person. It would have been Dick Gephardt.
Yeah, he was Dick Gephardt from Midwest, Missouri, senator or representative, actually.
Yeah. So he won Iowa, and then he lost New Hampshire, and Dukakis won New Hampshire. But then Dukakis and a young Al Gore did a huge negative campaign against Gephardt and got him to lose. And that's how. So I'm assuming that Steven was talking about Gephardt, but they made it very vague. I was just curious to see who it would have been.
My favorite line was actually the Dennis the Menace line, referring to Dan Quayle as the vice president of the United States.
Yeah, not the last time that Dan Quayle got made fun of in a sitcom, folks.
No. That's true. Happen quite often, actually. Yeah, so it was good to see that. That was refreshing. And then we have this bullshit, not even vanilla episode. It is just the laziest one of the episodes I've seen in a while.
You know what? It is. And yet, I'm always happy when they have a distinct A plot and a distinct B plot, and they sure do. Unfortunately, they spent if we measured the time on this episode, I'll bet you they spent more time on that B plot than on the A plot. And I mean way more time on the B plot. Yeah. And I know the A plot involved the kids, but still, that B plot was brought up 5 fucking times, and they had huge family scenes, and they were all the same.
Yeah, it was just repeating with a new bill, because the B plot that Corey is referring to is Steven is wanting to cut down on their utility bills.
And they do mention it goes from electric bill to water bill, to phone bill, to gas bill. 4 bills, he mentions.
Yeah.
You could tell they definitely had a lot of fun with that. It felt like something where their heart was in that B plot.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think that's why they spent so much time. And it seemed like there was a playfulness to it.
Yes. All of it. This is almost an anti-episode of Family Ties. I was thinking this while I was watching, that it's like, this thing has so many jokes in it. It's got an arguably funny B plot, or at least an interesting one that has a lot of like heart to it. And all the characters have very strong, dynamic goals and wants. It's just, there's no episode inside it. There's no through, like, all of the A plot happens off screen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Like an A plot that you don't see. What other sitcom have you ever witnessed that in?
We see this on this show. It's a typical thing they do, where all the important stuff happens off screen because they're so tied by that multi-camera living room set. That living room kitchen set, where they're so tied to it, they can't seem to get out of it. So we go, first of all, the only really positive thing I can say about this is we start this right after the opening credits. When we finally get into the episode, we start with a whole lot of orange juice.
Oh, yeah. That's when you know. It's like, yeah. There we go.
And with that, let me just take a quick moment to address
Please do. Yes, address them.
Yes.
So, listeners. Gang, listen, we're having this going away festivities on social medias where you can send us photos of you drinking orange juice.
Oh.
Oh, we're listening to Paul's Boutique.
Oh.
You know, because the... Here, wait, let me do it. I want to do it. Ready? I can do it, too. Bah, never been dope because I'm the most happiness. See, I know all the shit. Anyway,
nice, Paul.
Back to our little commercial. So, please send us photos of you drinking the Keaton family delicacy orange juice, and you can send it to us with the hashtag OJ with QTWFT. We've already got a few in. It's hilarious. Barack Obama is actually...
I know. I can't believe that President Obama took the time out and sent a picture to us. That was lovely.
He did. I mean, he listens to us and WTF with Mark Maron. And he's like, it covers all of my favorite interests. Mark Maron and everything else.
You know his orange juice was like premium too. Like he had really good orange juice.
Oh, straight from Hawaii.
Absolutely. Fresh, citrusy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you described your orange juice, Scott, as citrusy. What the fuck else is it going to taste like? It's a fucking citrus fruit, Scott.
To be fair to Scott, Corey, he didn't say it's orangey, like the color orange.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. I'm going to go and have a meaty hamburger in just a fucking moment.
I like to remind you, my job, to bring the base down to the lowest denominator. Okay?
You're a sweet guy. I want you to know I'm reading my notes without my glasses on. I'm in such trouble. I can't see a thing.
Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah, it should be. So right after the orange juice, Stephen brings out the electric bill and announces that it's way too high and everybody's got to cut back on how much electricity they've been using. He goes into such detail on this B plot that I don't even want to go into it because it happens 4 more times.
And they give him a nice little prop of like a stopwatch. That stopwatch is in every goddamn scene.
Like he's a coach.
It took me a while to figure out exactly what he was doing. And then it was, oh, he's timing like everybody's use of everything. And he has like a clipboard. It was really strange how like what kind of character he was supposed to be, like a coach or a military sergeant, like enforcing these cutbacks on the bills.
And we find out Andy is doing his history homework. And we find out that Nick is bringing over his 5-year-old nephew, Rocco, to visit.
Nephew. For anyone who is a Family Ties completist who joined us on The Art of Being Nick, this is a different nephew.
So they decided that maybe the nephew was the problem with the pilot, and they got rid of him, and they got a different nephew for this episode.
Yeah, they wanted to get rid of like a cute sort of waspy kid, and they wanted to get the juvenile delinquent version of me who couldn't act.
Right.
And I just wanted to say, I'm so glad you said that, Paul, because I was going to point out the fact that Rocco is exactly where Brian Bonsall was on his first season.
But to be fair, Brian Bonsall was like 2, and this kid is the same age as Brian Bonsall.
And was he the same age? He looked a little bit younger.
He was just
but bad.
Dreadful. I've never seen someone so so completely committed to acting tough, not being tough, acting tough.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone who gets past the first audition who can't keep a straight face this much.
I was about to say, because he comes in, Nick introduces him, and of course we're all expecting the moment we see him come in and we hear Nick has a nephew, we know there's going to be the little nephew saying, "Hey," right? And he does it, and he can't keep a straight face. He wants to laugh.
And the audience absolutely wets their panties. They completely go nuts, and they eat this shit up alive. And I thought it was just one of those ucky moments. Like, they had to go and do this, and they had to make him say A, and they had to push his hair back like a greaser, and they had to make him wear a jacket like Nick. And the whole thing was so predictable and disgusting.
Yeah. It was just really obnoxious. And he has an earring, too. He's a 5-year-old with an earring?
Now, that's what they're pretending that he has a pierced earring. And I think we all know that there ain't nobody in the world who's going to pierce a 5-year-old boy's ear. Not in 1988.
Yeah.
Not now, I don't think. Well, I mean,
a parent can do it. A parent can do it themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think any girls
can do a little girl in the mall.
Yeah.
No?
So I'm saying they certainly can't deny a boy for that reason.
That's true. That's true.
Man, we just had to like talk Jones down from being toxic masculinity here. He was like,
he's like living in 1921. Hey, Scott, get with it. You can go out and pierce Henry's ear if you wanted to. That's right, if they wanted to. Now, that's not to say that everyone's not going to make fun of Henry and bully him for that.
Right, but but the fact of the matter is they can have
you could, and it would be perfectly acceptable in some social circles. Certainly not around me, because I am also an adult. I'm a grown man, and I'd make fun of a kid for that too.
Of course, yeah, on a regular basis. This is why Henry can only talk to you via computer with me present.
That's that and the court order.
That's true. We talked about that, Corey. We talked about that.
Understood. We live in the same town, but yet there's a court order that I can't see.
Can't go.
So we go from this kitchen scene into the living room where all the lights are off.
Yes. So now they're cutting down on the electricity.
And one of the girls is sewing. I think it's Mallory. She's like sewing something, and she's like cutting herself because she can't see.
And Jennifer's trying to do her homework. I think
Elise goes around and starts putting the lamps on. Enough with this. And now Alex comes in and announces it's time for Wall Street Week, which is a show. Is it still running, Paul? I know it ran for many, many years on PBS.
I have no idea. I always thought it was a fictional show in the world of Family Ties.
No, it was a real show on PBS that ran for many, many years.
Oh, wow. Was it like how they presented it, where it's like a history of economy and money? And
not at all. It was Wall Street this week. It was the Wall Street Week. It was just the week it was before CNBC and Financial Fox. Before they were doing financial reports every day, it was a weekly financial report on how did the market do that week.
Right. That's what I expected it to be. And then they're talking about the history of
that was bullshit.
I was like, what is this?
Yeah, that was bullshit. And we find out that Andy's at the mall with Nick and Rocco, so who purchased a T-shirt and an earring? Who was that purchased for?
The earring was for Mallory.
No. That's when he came back. But before, I think they talked about how they were nervous about them going to the T-shirt store, and they were worried that he was going to get an earring.
Yes.
This is before they came back. And now they sit down and Alex declares that Wall Street Week is event television. And they all try and find excuses not to watch Wall Street Week with him. And he calls Elise mommy again. 21-year-old Alex calls her mommy.
It's kind of appropriate for this show because his behavior is, and we talked about this beforehand. This is a reverse episode. We've seen this episode where Andy is jealous of Alex for hanging out with his girlfriend. And now this is the reverse, which is very, very strange.
Absolutely. He says, Mommy, will you watch with me? And it's like, okay, everybody. And they all sit down to join him to watch Wall Street Week. And Steven says, now here's where I was going to go fucking nuts. Steven goes, once again, when we turn Stephen Keaton, an educated college graduate. They went to Berkeley, for God's sakes. They went to a very good school. He's a bright man. And he sits down to watch a television show and he goes, what do we do? I don't know, Stephen. You watch the fucking television show.
And for all intents and purposes, Steven produces this show. This is the public channel.
Yeah, you're right, Paul. I didn't even think about that. He should be familiar with it.
Yeah, he's on PBS. What do we do? I don't know, Stephen. What do you do? So they sit there and they doze off. That's what they do. They all fall asleep. And just then, Nick and the kids, they came back. They had a great time at the mall. And Rocco got a truck. Andrew was bought a truck. Rocco bought Andrew a truck with his spare change. He had a couple of, spare change.
Yeah, he was like stealing hubcaps and he was holding up old ladies and stuff. And he was able to scrape together a couple wheat pennies and buy him a truck.
If a toy fell off a truck, there you go.
I knew a man with a toy truck. That's how it came about. And then Nick goes, the predictable, and we also stopped by the earring booth. And they all grab Andrew and look at his ear. And, of course, it's not for Andrew. He got earrings for Mallory.
Wah, wah.
Can we talk really quick just to rewind back of when they're dozing off on the couch? That panning took fucking forever. Like, they panned each person falling asleep, and of course, then one on Alex, who's excited, and then they pan up to Mallory, and then back down to Alex. It was like...
They thought it was a visual joke, like Woody Allen's pan in the car after Christopher Walken says sometimes he likes to think about committing suicide and what it would feel like. And then it's the rainy night, and we start on Christopher Walken in Annie Hall, and we pan from Christopher Walken to Diane Keaton. And it takes just long enough for you to start laughing your ass off because you know you're going to see Woody's face in just 1 second. But that's a pan that pans out. That's got a punchline at the end of it.
Right.
And this is a pan that goes nowhere, and it happens 5 times.
Yeah.
Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Let's keep bouncing the camera around and still not get a laugh.
Yeah, that's all it was. It was horrible.
And then Alex makes a comment that he's going to VCR the show. Hey, my question was, at the very beginning of the scene, when he was upset that Andrew wasn't there and he went and watched the show anyway, why didn't he think of VCRing the show then?
Right.
If it was so important for him to watch it with Andrew. See, the writers always undermine their own shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, like for our younger listeners, a VCR is like a DVR, but then you had a cassette, and a cassette is what you buy, ironically, at like Urban Outfitters to listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a big cassette that you DVR shows with.
And it becomes quite clear at the end of this scene, which is the end of Act 1, that Alex is now jealous. 21-year-old Alex P. Keaton, college student Alex P. Keaton, in spite of the fact that we have not seen him in college for about 10 to 12 episodes now. College student Alex P. Keaton is jealous of a 5-year-old nephew of his probable future brother-in-law.
Yeah. This was what infuriated me the most about the show, is exactly what you said, Corey, is he's in college. He has now, again, has he broken up with Courtney Cox?
No, they're still together.
No, they're still together. Mm-hmm. He has a girlfriend. And they make him so active, like he's in all these social... Why the fuck is he spending this much time with Andy?
It's bizarre.
It's really strange.
It should be the defining thing in Alex P. Keaton's character from season like 5 on, is that he's always going to class and that he always has stuff that he wants to do. Like, it should always be an obstacle, or it should be something that's ever present, that he's so happy that he's working on this thing. And because they're so fucking lazy and unimaginative, this writer's room, they just abandon it. This is a guy who's gone through 4 years of school, and the last time he was in class was when he was trying to fuck Tracy Pollan.
Yes, and the thing is that in like the first 3 seasons, that's what it is. He's this overachiever in high school, and every episode revolves around him one-upping Mallory and working on projects and stuff like that and papers. And now he's in college, where the stakes are even higher of him going out into the world and achieving what he's always wanted, that banking job, working on Wall Street. And now he's not even there. Like, it makes no sense.
Alex, you have a thesis to write, and you're worried about whether or not your 5-year-old brother likes you still.
Alex, when was the last time you took Courtney Cox out on a date?
Who said that? I want to ask, who is the person that said, hey, I have an idea. Does anyone have an idea for next week's show? And the person that said this, first of all, deserves to be smacked in the face.
Yes.
And then the head writer, let's assume it's the showrunner, Gary David Goldberg, gets a double smack for being like, yep,
okay,
that's it.
We'll do it. You nailed it.
Stop. You had me at jealous of a 5-year-old.
Once, the 5-year-old wants to. God. Oh. Yeah. And he's okay. So what we discover is he's jealous of Andy hanging out with Rocco. And it's kind of weird because Andy's doing healthy things like that a boy like. He likes playing with trucks, and it's like he's finally gotten some normal time with normal kids, and Alex wants to crush that.
Yeah, just like everybody else, Alex has this, awful narcissism where he has to make everybody around him bow to his will. And that Andy is no different. And they try to play that up a little bit early on in the episode, in as much as Alex is like, Andy and I watch Wall Street Week together. I'm making him learn about the Industrial Revolution and all this kind of stuff. And it's just kind of dumb and boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the end of the first half?
It is. You should take a break.
Let's take a break.
Well, gang, with that, we'll be right back. And we're back! We lost Corey.
I liked how you went out and how you went in.
I always try to change it. I try to give him something to work with. Levels. I work with levels.
Yeah, I like it because you lulled me in. I felt okay, you guys going away, and then I got excited when you came back.
Yeah, if I had to do it over again, I would have done it the other way. Because you want to end it on a high and then seduce them back in. I should have done it the other way.
I think it's just. I mean, NPR gets away with the monotone same way.
Yeah. Welcome back, Corey.
We start the second act with Steven bringing in a water bill.
Listen, there's nothing that's more fun in being a part of a family than when your dad makes everything a fucking torture. Like, for the 18 years that you live at home and dad won't shut the fuck up about the bills.
Yeah.
The thermostat, oh my, it's like, it's Fort Knox. If anyone touches it, I'm sure there are tons of hack comedians in the 90s who did this, but...
easy, yeah.
It's funny because it's true. Corey, are you just awful to Logan?
You're talking like that, and I'm trying to think, what are the things that I do that drive him crazy? I don't insist that he clean his room. I don't yell at him for electricity. I probably should. I'm very lenient. I'm probably raising a sociopath.
Are there any bills that you like a phone bill or something like that? That seems to be the
I don't look at bills. Ever since my heart attack 15 years ago, I haven't looked at or paid a bill.
That's probably
That's great.
My lovely wife takes care of all of the finances so that if she's stressed, hopefully it doesn't kill her. But if I'm stressed, it could kill me.
Wow.
So
What's pretty interesting is that Steven is going to have a heart attack this season. Maybe it's from the bills.
Maybe he should give that duty to Elise like they do in my family so that I just abdicated that responsibility after the surgeon said to my wife, "He's very stressed. I held his heart in my hand. I can tell."
Holy shit.
I felt this stress. Right.
And I figure if there's only one human being on this planet that's ever held my heart in his hand and he says I'm stressed and I need to lower the stress in my life, I'm going to listen to him.
That's you listen to that.
So 15 and a half years later, and I've not had any problems. So there. So maybe he was right. So that's why I don't pay the bills.
Have you ever watched the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where he takes his heart in his hand? Is that like a triggering event?
Yes, yes, it is. I do. I think of that all the time.
Corey's like, Onam Shivai, Onam Shivai, Onam Shivai, Onam Shivai, Onam Shivai.
So the funny thing of this scene is Steven starts going over to each person, telling them how long they've been bathing or showering.
He's timing them.
Yes, he's timing them. And when he gets to Elise, she shoots him a look that every husband on this planet has seen from his wife.
Yes.
And that look should have shrunk his penis into a vulva, and yet it doesn't for some reason. And he goes back at her later in the scene. And I just can't believe that he went at her a second time, because that look would have shut my ass up right quick.
I am not bringing that up again.
Yeah, there's a C plot in this whole episode where Elise always seems just about ready to divorce Steven.
Yes, you are so right.
Really aggro.
It is an absolutely unspoken plot where she's this far from divorcing him.
Elise
it's
is really
Yeah, Meredith Baxter plays it to the hilt. She's just so angry at Steven, rightly so.
Well, I was just to say, I thought maybe she made a really good decision. She read the script and she said, if my husband was going to bring in day after day, 4 days in a row, a different bill and start lecturing the family on how to save money when we don't even really need to save money, then maybe I should just fucking hire a lawyer and get rid of this son of a bitch.
Yeah, and it's a nice level, too, because all the kids are just kind of tolerating it a little bit and joking about it. But she's really pissed, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah, and we're all just, and all the scene's doing is stalling time for us to get to moon-faced Alex again, who's moony over the fact that Andrew isn't home again. He's out. He's at the truck stop now with Nick. You know, the other thing that they never quite say, or you'll probably tell me they did and I wasn't paying attention, which is entirely possible, but they never quite say that Alex is also, well, they do. They get to it in the next scene. Alex is rankled not just by the fact that Andrew is doing these things, but these are things that he's not interested in doing. Therefore, he can't fucking believe that his brother is interested in doing them. And he also believes that if he doesn't think they're worthy of doing, then God damn it, they're not worthy of doing.
Yes.
So he's put out by the fact that Andrew is at these things that he considers to be relatively poor, white, trashy things that he has zero interest in.
Yeah, if this were a British sitcom, it would have been a lot more interesting because it would have been playing so much with class and that like there's an awareness of class difference in England that Americans don't or didn't used to have. And so, but like throughout the episode, it's definitely like a thing where it's like Alex and to a lesser extent, Steven and Elise look down upon the class signifiers and interests of Nick and Rocco that like, it just seems like they just hate. That's one of the things they seem to hate the most of all is that they're poor and that they're different than the Keatons.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that seems to be a reason to, and in this Trump world that we live in now, isn't that curious? That seems to be a reason to hate someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they're different from you is like, okay, there's a reason to hate them.
Yeah. Right. That they're quote unquote elitist or quote unquote white trash.
And of course, the upshot of this entire scene is that Andrew comes back in, wants to go and do something else, goes to play with trucks up in his room with Rocco, and Alex doesn't want to go and do that, and Andrew announces Alex is boring.
Yeah.
Oh, slam!
It's true. And this goes to your point, Paul, of how we don't see any of the interesting stuff in the A plot. Man, how good it would be for Alex to try to go play trucks.
Oh, that would have been so much fun to have seen that scene. How uncomfortable. It's so out of Alex's comfort zone.
Or have him go to the dirt bike rally.
Oh, that would have been so much fun. It's out of his comfort zone.
Wow, once again, we write a better episode of Family Ties.
Absolutely. And so we go now into the kitchen and we see Alex sitting there pathetically all alone. And the phone rings and Dad runs in to answer the phone because now Dad is obsessed with the phone bill.
Question. Incoming calls on a landline, you don't get charged for those.
No, they're not your charge. They're the person who made the phone calls charge. That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
That's why you always did the when you were talking to somebody, you'd hang up and have them call you if they had more money than you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let them pay for it. It's the person who makes the phone call who pays for it.
Yeah. It's one of the great lines from the Warner Brothers cartoons where they're like, it's your nickel.
Oh, yeah. Whatever, it's your nickel.
They're talking about truckers and dirt bike races, and he wants Alex to go with him to see truckers and the dirt bike races. And Alex just flatly says, no, I won't do it. So it comes down to this. The kid, a 5-year-old little brother, is now going to reach out to his 21-year-old college student older brother and say, hey, you know what? I sort of kind of do miss you, but I want to do the things that I want to do, you know, like any other 5-year-old kid. And I'm doing the things that I'm interested in doing, you know, like any other 5-year-old kid. I don't want to watch Wall Street Week. I want to go and watch monster trucks or dirt bike races. And he asks him to go, and Alex puts his foot down and flatly says, nope, won't do it. And so the kid goes and does it anyway, and Alex gets pouty. And that's where I go, we're back to Alex being a sociopath again, because that's just not the way it goes.
Yes, and Stephen and Elise don't go, right? Because he needs to have someone to bounce his whininess off on.
That's right. And that's what happens. Now we get the long-ass scene of Stephen and Elise. And we get this long memory scene with Stephen and Alex, with Stephen talking, hey, remember when you were just a small kid and your nickname was Moonbeam? And we remind Alex of all of the hippie things that used to be implied with the show but no longer exist.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, but guys, we forgot about one little part, because I feel we need to discuss it, is how Steven talks about the phone bill with Alex, where he sits down and he goes, I know it's not you, Alex. It's not me. It's the women.
Women be talking.
Women be talking. Yak, 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 yak.
I mean, I think the fact that podcasts are always hosted by 3 white men just shows you how much men actually talk when people say that women talk more than men.
Absolutely.
We have an entire subculture in America of guys who have to record themselves and subject strangers to their musings. Men also be talking.
Yeah, men be talking, and even more so having to project it out into the world, not just a private conversation.
No. In fact, I feel like I can talk better when strangers are going to listen to it when I talk to the two of you at this point. Like now, before a show starts, I don't even know what to say anymore.
No, I don't know until we're there. It's very improvisational.
Oh, yeah.
It's performative.
And so we end this last scene in the kitchen, and Steven sort of warns Alex, don't lose Andrew. You can lose someone. You don't want to lose Andrew. And that's pretty true of all relationships. You can do something that fucks it up and you can lose someone. Especially a brother-brother relationship is not unconditional. It's a very conditional relationship.
Very much so. And also, and the role that Alex has chosen to take kind of requires you doing things you don't necessarily want to do. Like, Corey, Logan as a little kid, you had to probably watch shows that you really did not want to watch.
For the second time, I had to watch them. Right, things that I hated the first time with the older kid. Yes.
I know way too much about Ninjago.
Right, and I knew every episode of Blue's Clues that it was humanly possible to know, and Dora the Explorer. So enough is enough at a certain point, but you got to do these things because you want to spend time with the kid, and you know that that's a good thing for the kid. And Alex should, at 21, have the wisdom to be able to do that, but it just doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
We get into this last scene, and now Stephen is obsessed with the gas bill now.
And they're like, it's only $15, Stephen.
And Alex, this scene is weird because we don't have a backdoor finish, as I've been calling it lately, where someone raps in the kitchen and comes in the back door and apologizes.
That's what I'm saying, you guys. This is truly an anti-episode of Family Ties.
So this one sort of ends in the living room, and of the backdoor finishers, Andrew is sort of the one that comes in this time and lets Alex off the hook. And basically, I stopped listening because I hate the ends of all of these shows. I know they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and the endings just make no sense. So I stopped paying attention to it. But the gist of it is that everybody says Alex isn't such a bad guy, and Alex goes, okay, I'm really not such a bad guy, and I really don't want to lose you, Andrew, so let's spend some more time together doing the things you want to do.
Now, what's maddening about this is the fact that you have not a feud, but a disparity, or like the plot of this episode is this sort of that one character wants one thing, the other character wants the other thing, but Andy doesn't realize that there is a problem. This is an episode where there's a conflict where only one person knows a conflict is happening.
That's true.
Right. Andrew
That's absolutely
right.
true.
He's oblivious to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have it that way on purpose. Like,
Mhm.
because at the end of the episode, the big hug it out, talk it out moment is with mom and dad. So that doesn't fix the conflict because the other party is not involved. And when Andy returns after deciding to go to the truck show, he comes back and he's like, I just didn't want to go. And Alex is like, oh, cool. Okay, so let's watch this thing. And he's like,
That's
okay,
it.
cool.
Yeah, so I didn't realize there was a problem. Yeah.
It's as if the show shouldn't have happened. You were blowing it out of proportion.
Mhm.
Nobody else noticed. It's one of those things where you just sort of shut the fuck up and move on.
Yeah. And if anything, the stronger ending would be for Alex to go chase after Andy. Like we've been talking about. Like he sucks up and realizes, hey, I gotta go do things if that Andy wants to do too. And then you have the shot of him calling out to running to the door and calling out to him, hey guys, wait up, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a little bit stronger than Andy. Like they make Andy return to kind of placate Alex. Yeah.
Weird. It was a very weird episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do recommend this episode if you're sick, have a really bad cold, don't want to have to pay attention to much. This episode is a nice sedative.
But ultimately, my bar is so low for this show that this still qualifies as a mediocre episode. There were a few laughs in it. I don't know. It wasn't that terrible.
I agree with you.
It didn't enrage me. There are shows that enrage me. This one didn't.
No. This was like, it kind of met our expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. It met my expectations.
Yeah, and to me, this episode is interesting just because it flies in the face of all of the tropes that Family Ties has established in a way that I don't know why they did this. Like everything that they turn on its head, it doesn't seem a conscious effort to like make a comment about something. It's just now we're going to do it a different way than we've ever done it before, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's really strange. And again, your final season, like this is what you pick? Like this, let's do that?
Yeah. Maybe they were really upset about the election, and they were like, fuck it, we just got to write something, you guys.
Yeah. And if anything, that should have fed them. That's great stuff for them to feed off of.
Yeah.
With your original premise of the show. Well, guys, it was great seeing you.
It's good seeing you. It was nice having you here.
I know. I'm doing everything.
I feel vocally a lot stronger tonight at the end of the show.
And I have right?
Yeah, I have more energy now.
I feel a third less aggravated than I usually do. So that's great.
That's right.
This really is a 3-person job.
Absolutely.
Well, that's our show, guys. For questions and comments, be sure to write us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter for updates at QTWFT. Be sure to take those pictures of cheering us with some orange juice. We are also on Twitter. I'm at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler.
And I'm at Corpep.
And be sure to like our Facebook page. We like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is an online conglomerate of geek media providing its readers with daily insights and reviews into the geek pop culture spectrum. And they're also an independent publisher. Please check out everything that they do. We like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the theme song Without Us. Check out Perry's music at perryadams.com. We like to thank Brian Dillon, Fanbase Press's president, who edits our show. And lastly, Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, who designed our logo. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Sha-la-la-la.
Bye.
Bye.